to listen on the audio only live, thehakereport.com/show. Art over there in Ohio 53773. How many tries, you guy? We got some major problems with our switcher, so we're trying to stream it without the switcher. What a mess. You may have sure that D Live gets reconnected there before I get back to callers. Terrible problems. Yeah, the bit rate is pretty low still. 644. Okay, we're back on D Live, everybody. Hope you're able to hear and see me. Lagging bad. Obama stream. They're throttling you. Still very bad. Okay. It's no good. Creek rose for the stream. It's still no good. It may be getting better now. It may be getting better because I see it at 22,000 now. I prefer Hake in 4K. I don't even think that I stream in 4K, man. I stream at 720. Wow. All right, that's what I'm streaming at right now. Not even 1080, buddy. Okay, seems okay now. In that case, let's get right back on it. Apologies. Very distracting. I don't like it either. Let's get to Jesse in California. He wants to comment on this, what I suspect is a kangaroo court. Jesse, how are you doing? Thank you for holding, man.
Doing well, hey.
Nice.
What's going on?
Not much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I want to talk about the next trial or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of seems like they can use this as like a perfect time to kind of kick off a fake civil war type thing, because they could make it to where that guy is like found not guilty.
Yeah.
And that'll just cause all hell, and then they'll make like some fake battlefronts in the cities, like, oh yeah, there's a civil war going on in America. We need foreign intervention and all this crap. So I mean,
right.
I'd be kind of weary about that whole deal. It just kind of seems like a setup. They're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but and then it'd be like perfect because you can kind of get everybody, I guess say patriots were grouped in in areas like, oh, they're all gathering together, so it'd be easy to like kind of pick them out and clean house, I guess you could say. But
right.
Yeah, I just kind of
that's kind of what they did in the first place by overreacting to this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it kind of I don't know, kind of like setting traps pretty much. For,
right.
People who are in. Yeah, because like at this point, the only thing you can do is like pretty much America has to return back to God, because that's really the only thing that can,
yes,
save America, I guess you could say.
That's very true.
That's like really the only thing you can do. Oh, and I want to tell you. I remember I was going to tell you about those tribes or whatever, the Indian tribes.
Okay.
That were like using the whole thing as a scam. Yeah, it's called the Vo Nation tribe, VOIX, and people from that tribe, if you pay them like $25K, you can get into the tribe and then grow a pot.
That is
as much pot as you want.
That is pretty corrupt.
Yeah, so that's what. Yeah, and they say like, oh, the Indians took their land, but there would be no concept of private property if the Indians didn't get like massacred. You know what I mean? Geronimo would be jumping through your front window on a horse, cutting your wife's scalp off. So, you got to thank the U.S. Army for that.
There was a lot of savagery that went on.
Yeah, and Christianity kind of cleans all that up. So I mean,
yeah, and just civilization in general. True.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, I just want to get your take on the trial.
Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, I don't know. This justice system I've known has been honestly a bit of a joke ever since the I don't know about OJ because I wasn't really paying much attention, but George Zimmerman, certainly. George Zimmerman over the Trayvon Martin killing. It was an obvious self-defense killing, but they tried him for murder. You could do manslaughter and, pretend to be reasonable, but they're not even pretending to be reasonable. They went straight for murder. That was ridiculous. And when they did that, I was like, okay, this is a politics corrupted world that we're living in, where people don't even live in reality, and the courts are a joke. And honestly, any man who's had to face courts with regard to accusations by women, or with regard to family and marriage and all that stuff, they've known that the courts are evil and corrupt as well. So, yep.
Yeah, and that guy Chauvin's obviously like not guilty, but you know, I mean, if people are scared to like get intimidated to even say anything, because if I was a juror, I'd be like, I'm gonna say not guilty. It's obvious, you know. I tell them up front, but you probably go to jail for that, saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry about like the country as far as it goes, because I don't think God's gonna let this country get taken over like that. But
we'll see. You know, I mean, we the people have to do our part.
Yeah.
Stand on what's right.
This is like perfect time for Americans to toughen up.
Yes.
We got soft, so this is kind of a what do you call it?
Very true.
But anyway.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, Jesse. Take care.
Yeah, you guys take care.
All right. It's still not receiving, according to YouTube. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Viewers will experience buffering. Apologies, guys. It's not my fault. Hope that things are okay. Let me see. Rock Climber gave a diamond and said, the central banks manipulate the children of the lie. They're part of the children of the lie. Anyway, are we going well, guys? Let me see. It's good now, says Mr. Arm & Hammer. Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Yeah, I got a text from Big Bump regarding I am wearing my beautiful Southern Pride flag, Confederate flag t-shirt, and he said, when I lived in the South, Big Bump says this, that flag was a symbol of pride for a lot of people. By the way, I only drive Dodge cars, and I owned a model General Lee Dukes of Hazzard car. Nice. The General Lee had a Confederate battle flag on the top of it. When I was a child. Yep. Yeah. Like I described the Hot Wheels little car with the General. It was called the General Lee, named after the great General Robert E. Lee, an American hero. I have some super chats to read before I get back to calls. Hang tight, guys. I was sent some by Dark Side of the Bear. What? Lin Yun Chin yesterday gave a super cap, I think is what it's called. Said, Maze, you are adorably demented. That's kind. Take Care Business Bear says, James and Tucker are different, but I can't pass by the fact that Hake's stare listening to crazy callers is exactly the same as Tucker's. Asmodor says about Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is a rhino who won't stand up for Texans. Yeah, I have to agree. I wrote him a letter after he smeared Gab.com. Gab is defending themselves, and I wrote a letter being like, maybe you just don't know who they are. Maybe it's like if you just admit that you don't know what Gab is, then I can cut you some slack like I cut Trump some slack. Because Trump said, I condemn the Proud Boys. I don't know anything about them. He knows that he shouldn't be condemning them. Maybe it's the same with Greg Abbott, but that seemed kind of awkward and kind of weak. It wasn't very even Trump-like. So, I don't know. Turtle No Nuck says, how do you feel about anime? Seems gay to me, but interested in your take. I know that it's popular amongst all races, among the Zoomers and younger, and even some younger, the millennials. I don't know much about it. Is Robotech considered anime? Japanimation? I don't know anything about it. Some of them are dirty. Some of them are kind of like soap opera-ish. And some of them are pretty cool, like the fight scenes and stuff. You seen Cowboy Bebop? No, I haven't seen it. Oh, Chris. Chris likes Cowboy Bebop. Nice. Thank you to Dark Side of the Bear What, gifting subscriptions over there on Trovo, trovo.live/The Hake Report. Congrats to Ragnar0321, Asmodor, and all the rest of you. Let me get to Erick, been on hold forever out of Selma, Alabama. Erick, how are you doing?
I'm good, man.
Nice.
Shout out to James Hake with the good hair. Shout out to JLP.
Nice.
Shout out to Joel. He can't rap, but he can dance.
Nice.
Shout out to Nick. He's the smartest man on the show. The anchor
True.
baby. Shout out to Chris. He white with the porn star mustache to run Jeremy.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, man. I'm just a huge fan of y'all. I have forgiven my mother and my father. I stopped believing in racism. I'm from Selma, Alabama, so you know how it is. Well, you probably don't know, but it's like it's liberal as hell down here. I voted for Trump. I'm like the only person that voted for Trump in my whole family. I'm a conservative Christian. I quit smoking pot. I'm trying to stop having sex before marriage. I did have sex with a stripper last night. I paid her $45.
Eric, are you trolling me right now? Keep it.
I'm not trolling.
You shouldn't be bragging about that.
I'm not bragging. I'm really ashamed of myself, man.
Well, you shouldn't have. Well, you don't have to say that stuff if you're telling me the truth.
Yeah,
but I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the shout outs.
I wouldn't lie to you, man. I'm a huge fan of y'all.
Yeah. Make sure you catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson every Sunday. Appreciate you, man. Good to hear from you. Take care, Eric.
All right.
What do you think? What's your take? Just leave it as an I don't know, I guess. Yeah. You know, there was a caller. I appreciate it, Eric. There was a caller on the Jesse Lee Peterson show today who kept on saying highly inappropriate stuff. But I don't think that he was a troll either. So I don't know. But what a mess. Okay. Trying to keep it family friendly. And guys, hide your issues. If you want to say, oh, I'm still struggling, if you have to. But to be honest, you shouldn't even say that. You can confide in like one guy, maybe, but not on air. But I appreciate that, man, if you're sincere. And if you're not, whatever. It's cool, too. Kid Fairfax says, that was a funny call on JLP. Yeah, I think that there is a major brainwashing that has taken over the minds of so many of us Americans, and actually across the world, really. Let's be honest. They pretend, oh, Americans are too prudish because we don't like naked pictures on advertisements. Whereas if you go to not Africa, Europe, they're blasé about it. Oh, it's just a naked picture. It's not provocative. Of course it is. That's what it's meant for. Hake don't even know how to interject. LOL. Anyway. But there's a brainwashing upon the people. Like, I can't help it. I'm human. But congratulations if you really quit that pot. Ryan, a first-time caller in Alabama, wants to comment on the Derek Chauvin trial. I have Thomas of Oklahoma coming up next. What's up, Ryan? How are you doing?
How are you doing, sir?
Doing fine, thank you.
I can't get over what's Erick talking. Yeah, I was just calling. I heard a bunch of people talking about this case, and I mean, I think it's going to get pretty bad.
The trial itself?
Yeah. Either way it goes, they're trying to do three things with him, and the lawyer or the attorneys or whatever, they're choosing manslaughter or something, murder, and
yeah.
Either way,
two different types of murder and manslaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. It's because they're going to have to show proof that there was intent, and I mean, they were just doing their job.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to show the proof that he meant, or physically, or he had intent to kill.
Yeah, I remember people acting like they could read his mind by just the look on his face.
Yeah. I mean, it's nuts. And when somebody's ingesting those kind of drugs and acting the way he was acting, then, I mean, there's a lot of other issues on top of that. And a lot of people don't want to see that. They just think, oh, it's a race thing, so let's make that part the big headline.
Yeah.
And yeah, either way it goes, I think it's going to be bad for just people going to riot and burn and everything else. Either way it goes, if he's found guilty of whatever, manslaughter or whatever it is, people are going to be out of control either way.
Yeah. That's true. Even if they find him innocent, which I think might be the just.
Yeah.
That would be just, I think.
It would.
Yeah.
Just because they can't prove a reasonable doubt.
That's true. I mean, to be honest, like, I think he's innocent.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, they can't prove that he was having intent to kill the man.
Yeah, and they can't even prove that he was even negligent.
Yeah, at all.
I don't think that they can.
No.
Yeah.
I don't either. Because they're going to, I mean, the guy was doing his job as a cop. They're trained to do this.
Right.
And he's resisting arrest. Well, what do you expect?
Right.
And if he's yelling out that he can't breathe, then he's obviously breathing.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Before he said, I can't breathe, long before he was even, well, maybe not long before, he asked to be put on the ground, and he was saying, I can't breathe, before their knees were even on him.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, as Tucker Carlson pointed out, that's one of the symptoms of when you're ODing on this fentanyl stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I seen a video yesterday of a guy, a police officer, going through some wrapping paper or some drugs of fentanyl, and he didn't even touch it. He had gloves on, but just the inhalation, smelling it, made him pass out.
Somebody told me, somebody else told me that earlier this week. One of my callers. That is
Arizona
crazy.
PD. But yeah, it's crazy. It's all these elite people, the elites and the higher ups that are causing all these problems, and then they try to say, "Oh, well, it's a race thing. It's racist, or it's all this," and it's not. It's evil.
Right.
People, and then they try to come in and swoop in and make it all better, and people don't see this. It's like,
yeah,
it's nuts.
Yeah, and people are so unjust in their mindsets, and they're pushing, this is so-called Women's History Month, they're pushing for women to be concerning themselves with the goings-on of society when they're not good judges of what's going on, and they're voting for, like, their own self-destruction. They're complaining about this. They're having a little Me Too movement type of thing over in the UK because this woman, 33-year-old woman, apparently, well, she disappeared. Some guy is a cop, actually, a police officer over there, is suspected of kidnapping and murdering her, right? Yeah. And we don't know what really happened. But this cop is white. I mean, he looks like he's white. He looks like, if I were to shave my head, it's basically what he looks like. But this guy, they're acting like, oh, we need to put men in a curfew. No, women shouldn't be. Women have encouraged crime to get out of control. The immigrant population they have to, like, retrain them to be civilized. In some of these European countries, including probably the UK, they have notes on how you're not supposed to grope women for the Muslims over there. I don't know. It's crazy. It's a mess because the women over in these European countries dress kind of like prostitutes.
Prostitute,
yeah.
Like whores, yeah.
Yep. Not good.
No. And that's another thing, like that guy was talking about the military. But, man, it's like women, if they go in, like Afghanistan, if you see a kid with a gun, that girl is going to feel more sorry for that kid and be like, oh, he's not going to do nothing.
Yep.
But the man, alpha man's going to be like, no, he's going to try to kill you.
Yeah.
He's not.
And kids have done that.
Yeah. That's why a lot of them get killed over there, because they've been trained at a young age to murder.
Yep.
But women's mind works different.
Yes.
They're more emotional.
Right.
Than men are.
More susceptible to manipulation. But people,
That's right.
I was listening to some progressive show that said white males are the most easily manipulated people, and there may be a little bit of truth to that,
Yeah,
because
there is.
people in general are very weak, and
Yeah,
we have
that's
been
right.
losing ground. White men have been losing ground to people who are pushing insanity. So
Mm-hmm.
there may be a little bit of truth to it, something to learn from, so we can fight
Yeah.
smarter. Fight smarter.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there is a handful of people in the country, in the world, that would be like that, but the majority, I don't believe, is that way.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of weak guys that do probably are deceptive and say, "Oh, yeah, let's go do that," or drawn to whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to call in and see what you thought about that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty bad either way, I think, after this trial is, because people just
fewer people, though, as more info has come out, are falling for it.
Yeah.
It was something like 60-something% of people thought he was guilty of like murder or something.
Murder,
And now it's
yeah.
30-something%, I think. But there's still a whole lot of people. I mean, to this day, there's people slandering George Zimmerman as a murderer, saying Trayvon Martin was murdered or Mike Brown was murdered. No, he wasn't. You're slandering the man. It's evil.
Yes.
To this day.
evil. There was no racism in it, nothing.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Racist. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm from the South, and that rebel flag means a lot more than anything they think.
Right.
Or anything. It's rebellion. It's the way you live and raised in the South. So many things.
Yeah. I
They want
believe,
to get rid of.
and everybody knew that. Everybody knew that when we were young. It didn't necessarily, I mean, that was like the last thing that you thought of was, racism.
No.
Yeah.
It's the words people love to make up.
Yep. Very true. Appreciate it, Ryan. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. You too, Hank.
All right.
Good show.
Take care. Call me again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Mo Better Stand Up gave a couple of diamonds here and says, oh my God, they know it's us. Shut this DNS attack off. Hake, when Earl call, ask if straws got one hole or two. All right, Mo Better Stand Up. I haven't heard from Earl in a little bit. Let me double check the Trovo live chat. Are you guys still seeing me? I know that the stream finally got healthy. That's nice to see. Terrible. Appreciate you guys' patience. Patience. Let me talk to Thomas in Oklahoma. It's been on hold forever. Wants to comment on Governor Cuomo. Thomas, thank you for holding, man. What's up?
Burn the circus down, 'cause the world is full of clowns. It's a clown world, Hank.
Yes.
Hank, that's what's up. That's what's going on.
Making me nervous.
Have you seen that song, Clown World?
I have not. I have not seen
Oh,
that
you got
song.
to YouTube it.
Okay.
Tom McDonald. He's a conservative rapper. Anyways,
Nice.
I want to talk about, man, I want to shout out to Art. His calls are always entertaining.
Yeah.
And, they're trying to shut him down, DDoSing y'all or whatever.
Yep.
And but anyways, long story short, that's what he always says.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of clowns, you got to stop giving so much time to these clowns like Earl and Maze and them, man. They give everybody headaches.
Yeah, sometimes I can imagine that I sometimes may give them a little more time than I really need to be given. I appreciate it.
Give them a little bit of time, but not
Yes.
too much,
Yeah.
So, Governor Cuomo, man, I think all of this is just to distract us from the real crime, which is killing old people by putting sick COVID patients in nursing homes.
Yeah, that was brilliant, wasn't it? It's ridiculous.
And, this Me Too stuff, did you see the video of him with the sausage incident?
I did not.
So he's at a restaurant and they're eating these like Polish sausages
I
or
heard
whatever.
about it. Okay, I heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
y'all got to check out this video because this one lady did a body language breakdown of it. And this reporter girl, she was totally like flirting back along with him. Like he was
Oh,
like, "Are you going to
gosh.
eat the whole sausage?" Inappropriate.
Yeah.
And that other guy that called earlier, man, dude, you ain't a real that said that sexual stuff, man. You're not a real fan of Jesse Lee Peterson and Hake if you're going to call in with the mouth dirtier than a public toilet seat.
He commented in the chat and said, "No, he's not a troll," and I'll take him at his word for it. Some people really just don't know better. So it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was inappropriate, man. But appreciate it regardless.
If he's
Eric.
a fan of y'all, he should know and respect that. But anyways, so the video of Governor Cuomo and this sausage incident, he's sitting there eating at the table, and he mentions the girl, "Hey, can you eat the? If I buy you one, you got to eat the whole thing."
Right.
And then she's like, "Oh, okay." And then so he does this power move, and he calls over the waiter and has the waiter bring her a sausage. And so he's like, "You got to come down and eat it with me." And she's like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah." And then
so
sat
she's
down,
flirting.
but she was smiling.
She's flirting with him.
She's smiling the whole
Right.
time, laughing, going along with it. She's loving the attention,
Right.
And then now she's going to turn around and say she felt uncomfortable. Like, you sat down next to him. You didn't have to take the sausage. You didn't have to sit down next to him.
Yeah. Yep. It's so evil. And they'll do it to anybody who's been in, even if they are liberals, if they've been in power long enough, time to take you down and pretend like we're
it's just
fair
like
pretend like we don't only target conservative men. Because remember how harshly they were just evil towards the great one true justice, Clarence Thomas. They were evil towards the great Judge Roy Moore of Alabama with the Washington
What happened to
Compost.
Clarence Thomas?
Clarence Thomas, a female named, I forget what her name is, but she's like a university professor or something to this day, tried to say that he was flirty with her or something. And she tried to come up with some kooky story about a Coke can. What a sick woman.
Yeah, and I've had I had a conversation last night with a couple people online about this same issue, and it's even the women who say don't agree with the believe all women thing still typically believe all women. They'll believe the woman first, until there's blatant evidence presented before them. And I've had personal experience in my life, without going into detail. I was in the Army in my fallen state being a slut maker, and there's this girl, and she basically claimed sexual assault on me. And it was total BS, and my friend knew it was too, And, another situation where there was a girl in high school who told me she had a real bad time and she was assaulted. And, I ended up finding out she was just a drug addict slut,
Yeah. Wow. What
and
a
I
terrible
found that out in the military.
mess.
I was in the
teach
Army
you.
too.
I mean, that's why it's reversing the order to go with a woman out from under what God says to do. Because you're just following her, and she's following Satan, and Satan is in charge at that point. You can't play man and be living an immoral life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And can I comment on the Army situation too?
Oh yeah, please go for it.
So I spent 2 years in the Army. I joined because I love my country. I wanted to serve, and I wanted a way to pay for education. But now I've already I got free education through a few tech schools, so I didn't even have to use my GI Bill. But I don't even want to go to college now. You know what I mean? Like even though I can get it free, I don't even want to go.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
I feel like I'll just I'll feel like I'll become a slut maker again or something.
Yeah. No need to get into that ugly world again.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm so glad I'm out. But and then that silent prayer is really helping.
That's cool.
With that.
Yeah.
But the Army, man, it was weak when I was there, and it's females. I've worked under a bunch of different females, and if it's a married couple, the woman's always seems to be the one pulling the strings.
Yep.
And in the Army, we had female NCOs, and we had female drill sergeants, and I just thought that was weird. I couldn't really take them seriously. I almost laugh sometimes when they yell. And then, we had one who was like an attractive drill sergeant. I'm like, y'all should be putting this blonde drill sergeant up here with these guys,
Yeah. That's
and,
what a joke. Are you serious?
And we had co-ed basic training, right? So we had separate barracks, but we trained with the girls.
Yeah.
And they were always easier on the girls, man. Always.
Right, of course.
And their PT standards are lower.
Yep.
And the Army keeps lowering its PT standards. And whenever I got to my duty station, I thought things were going to get better.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, basic training sucks. AIT, I went to medic school. It wasn't that bad. It was kind of crazy, but it wasn't that bad. It was hard, man. It only has a 30% pass rate.
Wow.
I barely made it through it.
Nice.
But, yeah, man. And when I got to my duty station, I thought it was going to be all better. I thought, okay, now I'm going to have some actual leaders. I'm not going to have to do this 8-hour training every day. It'll be more relaxed, all free time. And I got there, and it was worse, honestly. I found out that I liked basic training and AIT more because the leaders were stronger. And when I got to my duty station, everyone was lazy. A lot of the leaders were fat.
Yeah.
And they're on what's called medical profiles, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm not a good runner, and they'd always stick the fastest dude at the front of the formation and make us run in formation. And then all the fat drill sergeants who had medical profiles just got to not do physical training with us.
Oh, so just special treatment for the people with a quote-unquote medical profile.
Right, and the women, seriously, it's like they were always had, some kind of profile and didn't have to run with the guys.
Yeah. Man, that's
so much worse now. Have you seen the videos of the Army nowadays?
I mean, I saw a side-by-side video of people in uniform being all gay or transgender or girly or whatever and silly. And then I see like these propaganda videos of the Chinese military or some Asian country being all disciplined and marching and fit and just dignified, making us look just like a joke. It's embarrassing.
I'm not afraid, but, I'm concerned and worried because after watching Sleepy Joe last night, I'm like, these foreign countries have to be looking at our enemies, have to be looking at us like we're a freaking joke.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
It's getting worse. It's getting worse.
And then our military is getting weaker, trying to allow transgenders, and that's so bad. Like I don't want any gay people in the military with me because you're like naked showering next to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want some dude, hiding that he's gay and checking me out. You know? That's sexual. Isn't that sexual harassment? Women wouldn't want a guy in there with them.
Yeah.
That'd be sexual harassment, sexual assault.
Yeah.
But we're going to allow gay guys with the straight guys.
No, it's insane. But they're pretending, the gay military members are just strictly professionals. There's not one of them that's going to be a little iffy. It's terrible, man. It's insane.
Well, that's why I'm running for office. I called Jesse's show this morning, man. I'm going to run for some kind of office in Oklahoma. We got to make some changes.
What years were you in the military, out of curiosity?
Back in 2010 to 2012.
Oh, that was in the dead of the Obama nation.
And then when Trump became president, I was like, man, I would have been better to be back in the military. But anyways, I'm glad I'm out, man. That whole organization's falling apart by the seams. My duty station I was stationed at, when I left, the whole brigade got dissolved and got moved to different brigades because the leadership was so bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Thomas. I'm glad you made it out of that.
Yes, sir.
Stay clean.
I want to thank you guys for everything you do, man. You guys are really rocking. I see y'all growing every day, and your platform's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, man.
Nice. Appreciate that.
So, yes, sir.
All right.
Tell the crew I said hi, and y'all have a good day.
Will do, Thomas. You too. Take care. Very nice. Women lead our most lethal units with character. They will dominate any future battlefield we're called to fight on. Is that what Joe Biden tried to say? It's crazy. Okay, let me get to a first-time caller, Boston, who's calling from California. Boston, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. How you doing?
Doing well as well. Thank you.
Good. I called to saw you wearing your shirt there.
Nice.
It brought up a thought I was having last year in the middle of the whole BLM riots. Black people want to take back the N-word.
Right.
It's their word. Why don't they take up that flag? Because that flag represents standing up to the establishment. And don't they want to stand up to the establishment?
Yeah. In their minds, they might think that they want to stand up to the establishment. Yeah, there are some blacks in the South who love this flag, this shirt. I don't know, man, but they tend to end up coming up with communism more, which is the establishment. They're very pro-establishment. I mean, the establishment is all the corporations that promote Black Lives Matter and kiss up to blacks. Give me a break. But yeah,
that's a great point.
Yeah, if they had any sense, they would be taking the side of the Christian Southerners who want states' rights and all that stuff.
That's all I could think of last year was just like if they're against the establishment, but I guess they're trying to establish their own new establishment.
Yeah. No, they want to. You notice anytime it's a local cop issue, they appeal to the state. And then the feds. No, they don't want. They want. And then the UN, the United Nations, which has cried racism against America too. They always appeal to somebody outside of your area that you don't even have any. You can't even face them. You can't confront you can't confront anybody at the UN over the injustice that they're doing. You can't confront Joe Biden or any of his sleazy cabinet for the injustices that they're doing. You can confront your mayor, maybe, if you're lucky. You can maybe confront your city council or county commissioners, but no, this is not right.
Well,
they're not for what's right.
The last caller made a good point about the Cuomo. Was he governor or mayor?
Governor Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo is the governor, so-called.
Yeah, the whole sexual distraction from the other issues.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of another thought of like how I felt about in the 90s with the Monica Lewinsky scandal. You know, I was in my teens in my 90s, and my guardian was like in his 70s, 80s, and he was a Republican, and I didn't really know too much about politics at the time, but I'll never forget the picture that he painted for me and told me about how the Clintons were letting the Chinese in to see their technology like all through the 90s, and now it's like full circle. It's happening again, and it seemed like that sex scandal, the Monica Lewinsky scandal, I wouldn't put it past Hillary to say, "Hey, let's set up this scandal in the news to take the focus of what we're doing behind the curtains."
Interesting.
And so it seems like a pretty effective strategy.
Well, yeah, people are shallow. Bill Clinton's evil was way worse than just his cheating on his wife,
right?
According to like the reports. Yeah, he was a liar. He was known to be a liar, and so it's ridiculous. Same thing with all of this. Look at that guy who was for, what's that guy's name? Ralph Northam. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback from Boston's line. Boston, I appreciate it, man. Good points.
All right, man.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Very nice. I had to hang up just because I'm getting a little distracted. But Ralph Northam is a so-called governor, I think, from one of the southern states. And yeah, that would be nice. Can we get some AC? Tell Jesse to leave the building. Ralph Northam was advocating for, let's decide what to do with this baby who was born alive that we wanted to kill in the womb. But he was born alive. And that was a controversy. And then they had a so-called bigger controversy because allegedly he wore blackface. He dressed up like a black. And he liked black Michael Jackson. And that was supposedly the bigger controversy. People are very shallow. They don't care about the stuff that actually matters. And he never resigned for either one of those things. Shameful person. Terrible. Let me get to Ryan in British Columbia, Canada. How are you doing, Ryan? It's good to hear from you.
Hey, I'm doing all as well. I'm doing great, actually. I'm doing amazing.
Nice.
let's be honest. I appreciate you, Hake. I had a bad connection earlier, so I appreciate you, man. This is my first time on your show.
Nice.
So I want to kind of hit it like a little political angle and just talk about how these people are being deceived. It's clear as day now. So I just want to maybe reiterate and let it go. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so we have women in today, right? Like they're struggling, they're suffering because they have a ton of weak men around them, right? So
yes.
Rightfully so. Not rightfully so, but I can see how they want to take the position of the man because all they're seeing is a bunch of weak men running around. They could do a better job. I can see that.
Okay.
So now what we have is women who haven't overcome their childhood trauma because even if they've forgiven someone, they still haven't understand that by judging them, you are evil.
Right.
And evil can work in you in a what I call PG evil way. And the way it works is because you're not behaving like that person who did you really wrong when you were a kid, you think that you're good.
Yeah.
So you justify all your actions off of your judgment of those who did you wrong.
Yeah.
So what happens is that little PG evil, that justification as a young youth grows into PG evil, and it grows into justified anger, resentment, hatred, and justifiably so. Now they see these weak men in real life, and they're like, okay, here we go again. Let me just get angry and tell this fool how it is, when in fact, that's just a deceiver working in you, PG evil. And that's
interesting.
Yeah,
by PG, you mean like a PG movie?
Exactly, but
like
it's
safe.
so ridiculous. Yeah, parental guidance. It's even it goes even deeper now. I know, but it's PG in the sense that it's like, it's calm, it's chill.
Yeah.
And that's the deceiver's biggest trick that I'm catching the deceiver in now is that he's got everyone like, well, I'm not a molester. I'm not evil. I don't kill people.
Right.
So I'm good. Right from a kid all the way up, because forgiveness is a two-part process. It's I forgive you, but I'm also wrong for judging you. People don't want to admit that they judge someone who truthfully did them wrong.
Yeah.
But that is how we overcome, and people don't get that. So now the powers that be see these women with tons of anger, powder them up real nice, hey, come on, and with out of their knowledge, out of their awareness, they're causing all the chaos, and they can't see that. But you got people like Biden who I obviously understand how this stuff works. So he's deceiving them at the highest level, letting them believe that they are justified in their anger and judgment and causing even more chaos.
Yeah.
The women even can admit, I'm a woman of God. I love the Lord. Yeah, but you haven't forgiven that person who did you wrong.
Right. Well, it's just like the people who say, I'm judgmental. Yeah, but at least I'm not racist. Or there's a lot of Antifa people who are actually not necessarily hitting people and assaulting people. There are Antifa people who are getting people fired or going after them in some way or another. Or there's this whole corrupt culture of just judgment and basically lynching people. Not physically, but from removing them from their jobs and all kinds of stuff. That Mumford and Sons guy who got lynched in a way. There's this Antifa attack or evil attack on decent people. Without murder is not the only evil that exists, and it's very destructive to civilization.
Absolutely, man. The new wave, and I want to promote this, is PG evil. People need to wake up to PG evil because it's actually the predominant form of evil today.
Yeah, that's true. People don't realize that they are evil.
Yeah. I learned it about myself. I thought I was the nicest guy because I didn't molest kids. And I'm just like, well, as long as I don't do that, I'm good. but just the action of that leads me to believe all of my thoughts there forward, and it's like, dude, that ain't it. And I can just see it. I see these women suffering, and I was raised by my mom, single mom, so I've seen women suffer my whole life, and she did her best, and I can just see the exact same move with these women. they care, and they believe that their justified anger is love, and that is the biggest deceiver. That's the biggest trick.
Good point.
So PG evil, man. Like, let's wake up to PG evil.
All right.
It's a real thing.
Appreciate it, Ryan. And I can tell you really are from Canada. Take care, man.
You bet. Much love.
All right. He said process. That was my first clue. And then he said something about mum. Oh, yeah. True. Very nice. A small echo. I didn't notice the echo. Oh, yeah. Next time, if you had the radio on, make sure you turn off the radio, guys. Okay. Let me get to Rick in Maine. Rick, good to hear from you. Long time no hear. How are you?
Yeah, no kidding. How you doing, my favorite millennial?
Doing fine. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Oh, that's all right. I'll tell you, I always like to jump in and say howdy every now and again.
I appreciate it. It's nice.
To the last caller there, judge not lest ye be judged. You got a point there.
Yep.
And this silliness with I can't breathe. Really?
Yeah.
Yet you can sit there or lie there and scream to the top of your lungs, rattling that poor officer's teeth with your volume of your voice. You can't breathe?
He was in a state of panic. I think that he may have been like short of breath, but I think that he was just beside himself.
Yeah.
He was beside himself. Tripping on the drugs.
If someone can't breathe, they're not going to be, whatever position he was in, screaming at the top of his lungs.
Yeah. Right.
It ain't going to happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He had something else going on.
Yeah. Well, the man frothing at the mouth, that's fentanyl.
Right.
That
what a shame.
boy was stoned out of his mind.
Yeah. And eventually out of his body.
Yep.
What a tragedy brought on by his own actions, his own failure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Is they'll do this, that, and the other, and then they'll try to make a big scene and carry on, and their brain ain't clicking right, so they're going to open up themselves to a massive amount of wrongful statements.
Yeah. And then the soft evil.
Yeah.
The soft evil calls Derek Chauvin a murderer with no evidence.
Yeah.
With no evidence. What a shame.
Yeah. No, they want to see murder. I can give them a good case of that because of what happened to my half brother down in Georgia. That was premeditated murder.
Have you told me that story before?
I believe I have.
What happened again?
I have. Well, he was involved with this girl, and they got into a lover's quarrel, and they split up, and she got hooked up with another guy, and they got talking about it, and they decided to commit premeditated murder. The reason why I say I know it's premeditated is because they pulled the kid out of the car, put him on his hands and knees with his hands clasped behind the back of his head, and pulled a gun and shot him.
Wow.
Dead.
How old was he? How old was your brother?
He was only 15. He wasn't that old.
Is this older or younger brother?
No, much younger.
Okay.
Much younger half brother.
Okay.
And it just, it really annoys me when people make those kind of statements. And, I know what it all about. No, you don't unless you lived it.
Yeah.
The cherry on top of that sundae was they dismembered his body and spread it over 5 counties in south central Georgia.
Wow.
Destruction of evidence.
Yep. That sounds like a murder. That sounds like an actual murder. As opposed to what happened to Breonna Taylor or George Floyd.
Right.
Wow.
So, I just...
What year? What decade was that?
Oh, God, that was back in early 80s, I believe it was, when Cliffy got murdered.
Wow.
And
Okay.
It's bad, too. That kid had his whole life ahead of him, and
Yep.
they just flat out decided they were going to snuff it out. So
Yeah. Well, people, it's a shame what the
It is.
situations people get involved in.
no, and sometimes it's just like it's always been said before. It's nobody's fault but their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's
George
just
Floyd
the
too.
fact
He was
that
only
Yeah.
only 46 years old, fit, but a messed up life, and he was crying for the person who probably is behind the messing up of his life originally, his mother.
Very, very much so. Very much so.
Often,
well, you have yourself
often
a
with
good weekend.
yeah, often with overdoses, the lungs fill with fluid, which would feel
Right.
like drowning. That's interesting.
Oh. That's right. It does.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick.
Okay, take care, brother. Have
All
yourself
right.
a great weekend.
You as well.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for letting me on there, bub.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. We have church coming up, church with Jesse Lee Peterson. It is always excellent. I love it. The men's forum, I think it was last week, was excellent. If all goes well, probably have a women's forum coming up next week. I think would be the third Thursday, right? Am I wrong? Am I right? I think so. You know, California is proposing this ethnic studies curriculum, urging students, this is according to Revolver News, shared by City Journal. City Journal, they've written about Jesse Lee Peterson over the years. They've written about basically relatively sane people from what I understand, the little that I've seen from them. Urging students to chant the Aztec deity of human sacrifice. Revenge of the Gods is the name of the article by Christopher Rufo. The California Department of Education will vote on a new statewide ethnic studies curriculum that advocates for the decolonization of American society. And that's a quote, decolonization. That's an SJW buzzword. That's what Dinesh D'Souza made this movie about. It's called 2016, Obama's America. And it came out in 2012 before Obama was reelected. It was trying to hurt his reelection chances, right? And it basically said that Obama, too, was part of this push to this anti-colonialism push, which is really just means anti-white, anti-American. Because many whites colonized around the world, the British Empire and America, too, a little bit, right? And it's basically just pretending that everything is righteous except for white people. And it's degenerate. If you know anything about the Aztecs, be glad that this is America. And that, well, I guess, is Aztecs more in Mexico? I think they are. I think that's more in Mexico or maybe even further south. By the way, that woman who smeared the great Justice Clarence Thomas, a lot of you guys named her. I don't even need to repeat her name. That's how much disdain I have for that woman. But it's Anita Hill. Anita Hill, just FYI. And Bible go-to guy, oh yeah, Azusa High School was the Aztecs. Yeah, I mean, they were known to be kind of strong fighters, warriors. So there's some coolness aspect to them, but there's a lot of savagery, evil that went on too. I was the Knights. I was the Arroyo Knights. Arroyo Knights. Mexican school for sure. Yeah, Azusa. Bible go-to guy asks, is a troll anybody who is being disingenuous? That's probably a good word for it. A troll is somebody who's trying to either play like you're something else, which is disingenuous, or trying to undermine, or trying to get a reaction. Because you might be completely honest, but just trying to get a reaction. They played soccer with their hips. Savages. Says Nick. Joel was the Bears, Los Osos. Oso. I knew a, speaking of, anyway, I don't want to get too into that. Reminiscing. Okay, guys. Mexican-Texas border, hey, says Dark Side of the Bear. What? I have Aztec blood. I was from Texas. No wonder you're so savage. Dark side of the bear, what? The Aztecs had a ball game which was played with your hips. Yeah, wasn't that played with like a head? Or am I remembering something wrong? Let me talk to Trick in Montana. Trick, how are you doing?
Doing good, sir. I just heard what you were saying about trolls. I want to offer myself as your genuine pet troll.
Okay.
Every hot shot like you needs a pet troll. So I woke up this morning and I'm doing some reading and I turned on your show and I saw you with your shirt on. And I've been on the show before and we've kind of covered this, but I just had a question for you.
All right.
Your view of the Civil War, do you believe that the North and the Lincoln administration went to war to free the slaves?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think they went to war, from what I understand, to preserve the Union. They didn't want to let the South secede. They wanted that money coming in. Lincoln famously said something to the effect of what Jesus said about the demons. Satan can't drive out Satan. He said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And the country was divided, and the South tried to secede. Lincoln wasn't having it. He said, you may have the right to secede, but we're going to go to war to force you to stay. So I think that's why.
Can I be a troll? I think that's a little trite, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I agree, but there's three things, and there's two books that I recommend your listeners to read. Lincoln's War by Seabrook and The Real Lincoln by DiLorenzo.
Okay.
And there's three reasons. Now, he said, Lincoln would say that slavery is awful. So we know he said things like that.
Right.
But he said other things, too, that are not, they're just racist.
So did General Lee. General Lee said slavery is a political and moral evil or something like that.
So did Jackson, and many of them did.
Yeah.
They knew that. So with that said, there were three reasons, really: protective tariffs, internal improvements, and a national bank, which leads to centralization or consolidation, which is big government. So when people look at these issues, and I had a friend he was a black intellectual, and we'd talk about this forthright, and he understood this. He said, yeah, a lot of guys in the South, the leaders in the South, wanted slavery to diminish and eventually go away.
Yeah.
And there were guys in the North, because of these issues, because Lincoln was an inheritor of Clay and the Whigs and Hamilton, which is big government. And these two books, these are quotes from Lincoln in the North. This isn't quotes from, Confederate rednecks. So I think when people read these books, they're like, they get a view like, oh, they really start because you say this stuff and people think like you're for slavery, and you're
right.
not.
Yeah.
So
I don't know that anybody who flies this flag today wants slavery back. In fact, they want to be free from slavery.
No,
a form of slavery.
I lived in the South for 10 years, and you're absolutely right. Can I make a mention of a couple other things real quick?
I heard that Lincoln. Yeah, I heard that Lincoln was influenced by. I read it. Was influenced by Karl Marx a little bit. They were contemporaries.
In these books, he had so many conversations and letters going back with European socialists. It's unreal. He was because they're big government people. See, that's what people don't know Lincoln properly.
Yeah.
They just don't see him clearly. And I grew up with this, and then I lived in the South, and then I started doing research. I'm going, there's something really cattywampus here.
And it's hard to even find out what really happened today, much less stuff that's ancient history, And I'm calling this ancient history.
Well, you got to dig. You got to do some research.
Yeah.
There's some great books out here. The Real Lincoln by DiLorenzo is phenomenal.
Okay.
And The Lincoln's War by Seabrook is excellent, too. Just make a couple quick comments. The military, I was in the military. I mentioned in the last show, I was a paratrooper. I was in the 82nd Airborne. What these folks are talking about, the military being weakened and us being, at risk to be invaded or take a major defeat is definitely, to me, very real. We're definitely weak. And that's just political correctness run amok. one thing I wanted to mention to you on my criticism of Uncle Donnie before he got elected and wanting to take on Saudi Arabia, but then in his 4 years not taking on Saudi Arabia and kind of couch. I think a big problem with America is our relationship with Saudi Arabia and being in bed with them and the oil dependency and other things. And I don't think Trump supporters were ever hard enough on that. You know, he said things in debates with Hillary and others about dealing, and then he never did. And no matter if it's Republicans or Democrats, they all kowtow to Saudi Arabia. And I think that's a huge, huge problem.
Yeah.
Could even be our demise.
There's a lot of corruption. I mean, our whole country's corrupt now. I mean, most of the people are so immoral across the board.
Yeah, you get
and
what
we
you
have
are.
some sketchy relationships. And
we have sketchy. One more comment. Can I make one more comment? I know these are disparate, but I want to make it. Everybody, Chinese communism, Chinese communists.
Right.
Awful party, do awful things. We all know that. 5% of China is in the Communist Party. A bigger problem in America since World War II, and this isn't an attack on Catholics per se, is our relationship with the Vatican. The Vatican's a political entity, and it is corrupt.
Very
corrupt true. Is, and I'll say this, as corrupt as the Chinese Communist Party. So
yeah, I believe that. I mean, look at the UN.
Yes,
they're all evil. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And then when we said it talks about the corona in China, well, the WHO, the CDC, the whole east coast of the U.S. is more tied into the EU and the Vatican than they're the Chinese Communist Party.
Right. What a mess.
What a mess. Okay. Your favorite troll is vented.
I appreciate it, Trick. It's good to hear from you. Take care.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
All right. Jeanette Korzenko says, how about Israel? Yeah, I mean, there's a big, huge corruption problem over there, too. There's one guy I like, and I don't know if I'm wrong for liking him, but I kind of like, who's that guy? He didn't like Obama, but he liked Trump. Netanyahu. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's like, I don't know much about him in terms of his character, but the strength that he portrays, I appreciate it. I know that he's been married multiple times, but any man who's like been in a powerful position has fallen to those temptations. And I don't think those of us who haven't had to deal with those temptations are better than them just because we haven't had them, right? But so there's this judgmentalness that you see going on against Trump and against Netanyahu for their past. But it's just like America. America's the government, so corrupt, so evil. Ninja Hughie gave a diamond over on DLive.tv/The Hake Report. Thank you, DLive. I mean, thank you, DLive supporters, right? Says suicides up 400% for under 18. End the lockdowns. Yeah, I read stuff like that. Based on no evidence, they're closing schools, kissing up to this silly teachers unions, and they're being all melodramatic about it. All people are saying is just throw them back in the building. This is a quote from some woman. Well, I would love for your child to come back. I just don't want to die coming home to do it. Says Pam Gaddy, who is a teacher and a parent, feels the tug and pull of the debate over reopening schools. There is no debate. Reopen them. You don't have a debate. It's not a debate. But it's ridiculous. Kids are not at danger from this thing. They were from other types of viruses, but they were not. And they, very little. Hey, I knew Hake was zoggy, but dang, dude, says Keith Weil. What? Am I wrong for liking Netanyahu? What's wrong with Netanyahu? Anyway. Yeah, these people are not for what's right. Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Rick, how are you doing?
What's up, James, my brother? How you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
I got a question on this HR.
You're coming in kind of quiet, though, for me, Rick.
Well, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but you sound far off. Are you close to the phone? Are you off a speakerphone? Oh, he just hung up. He's bumped. He's bumped, meaning we push the volume all the way up. Thank you to GMD/Jim, gifting a subscription to Mo Betta Stand Up. Wow, very nice. Congrats to Mo Betta Stand Up. Is the stream choppy for anybody? I see one person complaining. Bitrate seems okay. It's up around 2,000. The YouTube stream health seems healthy. Wow. Okay. Rick is getting reconnected there. Let me play this quick clip. Let me play clip B of the clips that I put in there, because the other one's too long. They're just being ridiculous. Before I get back to Rick and the rest of the callers, Joe Biden, speaking of this melodrama about the virus, he keeps something in his pocket. Hang on, Rick, I'll get right back to you. Listen to Joe Biden talking about the death. And he spoke on they're calling it 3/11. 3/11 is the, I guess it's kind of like a 9/11. 3/11 was when the UN declared, or the WHO declared this to be a pandemic. Listen to phony Joe Biden talking about the death, and it's so morbid. He's pretending to care. Listen to this.
As I've told you before, I carry a card in my pocket with the number of Americans who have died from COVID to date. It's on the back of my schedule. As of now, total deaths in America, 527,726. That's more deaths than in World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, and 9/11 combined. There were husbands, wives, sons and daughters, grandparents, friends, neighbors, young and old. They leave behind loved ones, unable to truly grieve or to heal, even to have a funeral. But I'm also thinking about everyone else who lost this past year to natural causes, by cruel fate of accident or other disease. They too died alone. They too leave behind loved ones who are hurting badly.
What a sicko, huh? Remember when he was on the Breakfast Club with that black guy kissing up to the blacks? And he's all, such and such number, dead, dead, dead. Psycho. He's morbid focus. He said 500-something thousand people died from COVID. More than many wars. Most of those people, I dare say, would have died anyway. Yeah, what about excess mortality? That would be nice to know. But they do things completely differently. They shut us all down. And more than that, almost double that, died via abortions every year. Roughly 1 million. I think it's under 1 million now. It used to be 1.2. It used to be like more than 1.2 million babies killed in America, I think, every year. Now it's under 1 million, right? Where is the bleeding heart about that, Joe Biden? Joel says less than a quarter of that is COVID alone. Yeah. COVID alone. Meaning you didn't have any other sicknesses or comorbidities. There was a guy, a Republican, a family man, young, in his 40s, and that's according to the CDC, by the way, in his 40s, he died. He left behind a beautiful family. He had a beautiful family. He was overweight, bit of a mess, in that way, had one office, and then he died. He caught COVID, but he died of a heart attack. And I had falsely said, oh, he died of COVID because that was how it was reported. But no, when you have the flu, you are at increased risk of heart disease. When you have COVID, same thing. Increased, meaning this China commie virus. Increased risk of so-called heart disease or heart attack. We're opening the treasure chest over there on DLive, dlive.tv/The Hake Report. Let me get to Rick. I think he's back in Hampton, Virginia. How are you doing, Rick?
Brother James, can you hear me good now?
I hear you fine. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good. Man, I want to talk about this H.R. 1 bill. You know, when they make a bill, they put so many words in it to try and confuse you
Yep.
instead of just seeing actually what the bill is. You know what I mean?
That's
They always
lawyers.
try to say, they're trying to say, like, the bill is designed to fund better voting machines. Because, the laws we have now are good. The only thing you have to do is just about election integrity. Like, for example, like early voting, that should stop 2 weeks before the main election. And, the request to get an absentee ballot, you need to request one.
Yeah. Yes.
Request one.
And you have to have an excuse, but they want to get rid of having an excuse. An excuse meaning, oh, I have this debilitating situation that I can't even get out of the house. That type of thing.
Because the absentee ballot works good for the military, because most people in the military and all this voter suppression this bill is talking about.
Right.
What is... I'm 52 years old, James. I have never had any problem voting, even getting absentee ballots. Ballots, applying to vote. I didn't have any problem.
Yeah. Right.
And Roland Martin is always screaming about voter suppression. They tell you to get a birth certificate, they gotta have a special seal on it. Well, who are these people? What city is this taking place in? Give me the who, what, when, why.
Yeah. That is crazy.
It'd be like saying voter suppression. You can go here. Well, who's saying this? What person? They never give you to any people. They just throw stuff out there to me.
Yeah. No, they're not for what's right. They're pretending to increase. What did they call it? They tried to say that we're increasing voter integrity and we're increasing. What did they call it? Transparency. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're deceivers. You're wolves in sheep's clothing.
So do they want the federal government to control all elections?
That's what it sounds like. And that just opens things up for more corruption because who is more corrupt, the local police department or the FBI? I think the FBI is more, they have more power, more immunity when they do wrong, and they're more corrupt. Liberal by far. And no accountability.
I would rather for the states to monitor their own elections and make their own laws.
Yes.
That's what I'd rather for to happen. Keep it within the but they can pass anything now, James. They control the House, the presidency, and the Senate.
Yeah.
What's stopping them? Unfortunately, that's the truth. But what's stopping them?
Yeah. It's terrible.
It's terrible, man. Even though we can tell our senators to vote against it, but they have the majority in all three branches.
Yeah. Not good.
It's not good, man. And the laws we have now for elections is enforce those laws. Don't use, to me, those Dominion machines, whatever, and mail-in voting. You have to. That's why Ohio and Florida was so successful in doing their absentee balloting. If they didn't request one, they didn't get one, and that's how it should have been. That's how it should have been.
Yep.
Just requesting, mailing. Pennsylvania was just mailing everybody ballots. Don't care if you didn't request one. We're gonna record it anyway.
Yeah, it's evil.
Very
so corrupt,
evil, man.
And they act like, nobody's gonna cheat. Nobody cheats. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about, man, making it. Like I said, the laws work. But what happened? They used the COVID-19 to change laws to fit them. That's all
an excuse. Yep.
Yep.
Rick, I appreciate it. I got to run.
Hey, James,
Good to hear
thank
from you.
Man. Love y'all. Have a great weekend. Love you guys. Be good.
All right. You too. Take care. Make sure you guys catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. We're ending shortly here. Fox News alert says George Floyd family awarded $27 million in a settlement. It is ridiculous. With reparations, this whole thing about reparations, I'm sorry, but the blacks owe us. They owe us. George Floyd's, well, his mother's dead, right? She died some time ago. But in the case of like whoever raised Breonna Taylor or whoever raised or so-called raised Mike Brown, those people owe the communities that got destroyed. And so do the parents of the rioters and the rioters, or at least the rioters themselves. What a mess. Thanks, guys. TheHakeReport.com for my stuff. TheFallenState.tv for a new episode coming out in just an hour here. Noon Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time. We're in the last days of the Standard Time. We're going over to Daylight Time, Sunday early morning. So church will be 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We spring forward. Gain an hour, or lose an hour, really. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah.